Mr. Mayor, we are now live.
Okay, welcome everybody. I will call this regular town council meeting of March the 22nd to order. So we'll look for a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councilor Worla, is there any additions or deletions? I will have an addition. We'll call it 9.2, and then we're just going to put it under due process. And we do have some closed session, 2 items. They're not intergovernmental, but they are business interest of a third party. Okay, Cliff.
For your new item, should it be 8.2?
Okay, I have the economic development as 9.1.
Right, that's board motions.
Okay, so okay, we'll go 8.2 then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see no other changes to the agenda. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. We'll be passing, adopting 2 different minutes tonight. So I'd like to get a motion for the minutes of the March 8th public hearing for the first reading. Councilor Barry, thank you very much. Has anybody seen any errors in those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Gary, thank you. And now a motion for the regular council meeting of March the 8th, the minutes approved. Councilor Lemko, thank you very much. No errors or omissions within those minutes. All those in favor? Gary, thank you very much. First up, we have correspondence from the Honorable Rick McIver, Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Okay. This is dear Chief Elected Officials. This letter is to inform you of changes to the Government of Alberta's Disaster Recovery Program, or DRP, which are in effect for DRPs that occur in 2021 and onward and are outlined in the 2021 Disaster Assistance Guidelines. In response to the rising cost and frequency of disasters in Alberta, we have made changes to the DRP. These changes are intended to share the responsibility of disasters with all those who are impacted and to make the program more sustainable for future events. Changes will ensure that assistance is available for Albertans when they need it most. While conditions for eligibility remain the same for qualifying applicants, the following cost-sharing arrangements and funding limits have been added to the program. Local authority and private sector applicants, including homeowners, we are implementing a 90-10 cost-sharing arrangement. DRP assistance is limited to 90% of eligible disaster expenses instead of 100%. The remaining 10% of eligible assistance will be subtracted from the amount payable to the applicant. No payment to the program will be required. Homeowners only. We are implementing a funding limit of up to $500,000 per homeowner application and a limit on assistance to 1 time per property. For disaster events that occur in 2021 onward, qualifying homeowner applicants will only be able to access DRP assistance once per property address. Financial assistance from the program will not be provided to future applicants who own property at the same physical location. One-time funding limit is not cumulative. For example, if an applicant received $100,000 worth of assistance under the new policy, they would not qualify for any funding in the future. This change will not be applied retroactively. If a homeowner has received assistance before 2021, this does not count as meeting the one-time assistance limit. Homeowner addresses that receive DRP assistance will be posted online to the Government of Alberta website to provide transparency about DRP funding limits. and an up-to-date information for prospective homeowners, developers, and real estate professionals. The funding received stays with the property. Therefore, a new homeowner would not be able to access disaster recovery funding for the same property in the future. Being prepared improves individual and community resilience by lessening the impacts of disasters, shortening recovery time, and reducing economic disruption. Individuals and communities are encouraged to take measures to prepare for disasters and to look at ways of reducing their disaster risks. Learn how you can prepare for emergencies and disasters by visiting us at alberta.ca/emergency-preparedness. Please refer to the enclosed information sheet for more information to changes on the Disaster Recovery Program and the Alberta Disaster Assistance Guidelines, or visit us online at www.alberta.ca/DRP. Rick McIver, Minister.
Thank you very much, Councilor Riddick. I need it myself, sorry. So we have a motion to receive and file. Is there any discussion on the minister's information here, the way that we're going to be approaching disasters? Councilor Riddick, you're first.
Well, further to our discussion that we had at the legislative committee meeting, I'm just foreseeing some gaps in this legislation that's going to be of concern for municipalities. And while we have been fortunate enough, knock on wood, to not have suffered some of the natural disasters that some of our other neighbors or other municipalities have, I think there are some very obvious gaps in this legislation that we'll have to keep an eye on. And if we have an opportunity to speak to elected officials provincially, I think that we should continue to keep this one on our docket of things to be aware of.
Okay, anybody else? Councilor Warwell, you're next.
Yeah, just sort of around the same run. I was looking to see if I could find any more information from them online, and I still feel that there's a chance that it could have some real estate impacts. I'm wondering in the future if you're going to be required to disclose that you've already had a claim that would bring you for no future ability to claim under a provincial program. I wonder whether it will impact insurance, whether it might impact whether insurers are willing to insure you again, knowing that you wouldn't be eligible for a provincial program. And yeah, so I definitely want to see us continue the conversations. And I think that there is potential that there be much bigger impacts than the current government might be looking at. So those are just my concerns.
Thank you. Councilor Barry.
Yeah, I'm echoing those concerns. The 2 points that bother me the most is, one, it stays with the property, which is going to be a real estate headache. If somebody has a disaster and collects on this, who's going to want to buy your property if it still is potentially in an area that could have another disaster, like a flood area, fire? And I think that's the aspect. It's still, even if you don't sell your home, if you're in an area that has had a disaster, then you have to pray that another one never comes because you're out of luck at any other time. I appreciate them giving us wise advice that we should prepare ourselves for disasters in the future, but how many of us can put away a reserve to buy our house a second time? I think they really need to look at some of that part of it. The 90-10 split, yeah, they're just passing some down, but the other is pretty significant to homeowners.
Yeah, well, to me, the way it looks, it's like if you've used the program, it'll stay with the title on that property, which then just prejudice it's against that property. The insurance can do what they want with you then, basically. I don't know how moving forward, a lot of municipalities are going to be able to attract people if they're in a flooded area or they're in a part of the province where you can expect more natural disasters and stuff. So again, making decisions moving forward, everything we do in municipalities, you're going to want to make sure that there's no forest close to, that would catch your town on fire. And well, I would imagine there'll be lots of discussion through AUMA on this as well. Councilor Broadek, you have a comment?
That was going to be my comment, is that I would like to forward this from our municipality directly to AUMA to see if they have any, if they could help us on, because it will be, I don't think there was enough consultation on this. So definitely we need help from AUMA to bring this forth.
I would imagine communities like Wood Buffalo municipality, probably the town of High River. And there's probably a lot of them that have already put this forward to AUMA. So I look forward to the spring caucus here to see what the thoughts are moving forward on this. So, but there was no other comments. We'll all those in favor of receiving file? Carried. Thank you. Next up is Phil Rowe.
Your worship, this is a request for council decision to transfer from general operating reserve for the Vegreville Region Physician and Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee. Proposal to approve the one-time transfer from the general operating reserve to the Vegreville Regional Physician Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee for 2021. Background: in the past, Vegreville experienced a serious shortage of doctors. At the request of the citizens of Vegreville, the Council of the Day worked with community members to form a committee to address the doctor shortage. Over the years, the Vegreville Region Physician Attraction and Retention Committee has been successful in recruiting, hiring, and retaining physicians. This success with acquiring and retaining physicians has fortified the addition of all health professionals in the committee's mandate and name. The previous support they had received from the town of Vegreville had been invaluable to continue recruiting new physicians and health professionals to our community. As per the letter received on January 29, 2021, a formal request requesting the town for a 3 to 5 year commitment of $5,000 per year, which has been agreed on. This is the actual transfer from the operating reserve. The financial implications: the transfer in the amount of $5,000 from the general operating reserve will be made to the Vegreville Region Physician and Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee to carry out the approved funding for 2021. $5,000 will be budgeted for in the years 2022 and 2023 to meet the 3-year commitment. Recommendations being made that Town Council approve the one-time transfer of $5,000 from the General Operating Reserve to the Vegreville Region Physician and Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee.
Councilor Broadek makes the motion on the recommendation. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carry. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so next up will be my 8.2, which is due process. And I know there's a lot of people watching our meeting tonight that think that we are going to be having a conversation about some walking paths and where they're going to be located in town. Well, we're not quite there yet. We are getting some pricing from some contractors, and this is sort of what has made this conversation where it is today, especially in the northeast part of our community. So I just want to assure everybody, when the pricing is in and we know what we can do and we pick the locations that we want to move forward with some new walking paths, we will engage the residents that'll be directly affected by our decisions through letter and consultation, and we will do what we deem is the best that we can for our community. So I know there's a lot of people waiting tonight, watching this, thinking that we are going to be making this decision tonight. We're not making this decision tonight because we don't have all the pricing in yet. And when we do, then we will be very open about what we plan on doing and where we will be doing it. So I just wanted to ease everybody's thoughts that is thinks that we're out there trying to do something wrong, because we're not. We are doing what we do as an organization. We are getting pricing, and then we'll make some decisions, and then we'll engage the community about moving forward with our decisions. So I just want everybody to know that is the process. Okay, next up, board motions. Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board.
Okay, this is a memo to Town Council from Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board for board member term extension for Scott Dixon. So Scott Dixon was appointed to the Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board, the board, on October 9, 2018 as the Vegreville and District Chamber of Commerce representative. His appointment expired October 31st, 2020. Scott had indicated that he wished to remain on the board for another 2 years. At the March 4, 2021 meeting, the board passed a motion to recommend to Town Council that the appointment for Scott Dixon be extended for a 2-year term. This is in accordance with bylaw 09-2019, section 4.4C. Recommendation that Scott Dixon be granted a 2-year extension to the Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board as the Vegreville and District Chamber of Commerce representative, with the term to expire on December 31st, 2022. It's from Tanine Rudick, VDAB chair.
Will Councilor Rudick, you make that motion for the recommendation?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, Councilor Broadjack, can you tell me if the chamber has okayed that nomination for that position?
Yes, the chamber has agreed that Scott would be an asset to the chamber board for the next 2 years. Sorry, to the Economic Development Board for the next 2 years. He is also on the chamber.
As the past president, I would assume. Any more comments? Councilor Warwa.
It's just a little bit about this, but overall, what I'm seeing right now is how important it is, as much as we can, to, with a lot of boards, to see continuation of some of the members, especially with some of the crazy changes everyone's facing. So it's always good to see when there's a little bit of continuance of some, semblance of a group. I just think that's really important as everyone's trying to plan through some pretty difficult challenges right now.
Okay. So no other comments? All those in favor? Carried. And I'd like to thank Scott for putting his name forward. Being in business and being the president of the chamber and coming off the chamber and being on other boards, it's a big commitment, and I respect and thank him for his involvement. So, okay. So next up, we are going to have council reports. We're going to start with Councilor Rudick first.
So last week was a busy week. I had FCM quarterly board meetings. So suffice it to say, every board that I'm on, we met. So it was a standing committee on conference planning, committee of the whole board meeting, Prairies and Territories Regional Caucus meeting, Municipal Finance and Intergovernmental Arrangements Committee, International Relations, the Rural Forum, Increasing Women's Participation in Municipal Government, and Board of Directors meeting. So it was a very full week last week. Of particular note, I just wanted to send out a special thank you to our admin and council, Clark Somerville, former president and key leader when we were bringing forward a resolution to FCM stating that rural communities like Vegreville needed to be consulted when the federal government made decisions to remove a major employer such as the Immigration Center. Clark is going to remove himself now from FCM committees and just be on his local council in Halton Hills. So he's been an FCM board member and president for over 15 years, and he counts his experience with Vegreville as one of the highlights of a very illustrious career. And thanks everybody here for being great partners and being able to see that through from the start almost to the end, to be able to see the construction of our industrial park this year. So he looks forward to coming and visiting us in Vegreville, and thanks all of you for your support during his term. Last week we had the Legislative Committee meeting on the 16th, the Rural Municipalities Association virtual conference last week, and those, they don't call them barefoot sessions, but they have all of the ministers available to the assembled RMA membership. So it's a great opportunity to see all of them. I'm not certain why there's such great attendance, but maybe virtual allows for all of the ministers to be able to attend. So it was great to be able to see and hear some of their responses to a lot of different things, particularly as it refers to restarting the economy and seeing things as we move forward in this next 6 months, really key time in Alberta. That evening, we also had the Healthcare Aid Information Session, the first of 3 put on by Red Deer College. So that was well attended, and we look forward to having some great enrollment for that program. March 18th, I did a webinar series, Strength and Innovation in Rural Canada, great examples of rural innovation. And one of the speakers was from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, a lot of parallels between our community and theirs, and some really great ideas that we could put into application here. We had the MLA meeting on the 18th, and Parliamentary Secretary MLA Long, and his focus is on small business and tourism. And I've thought a lot about some things that maybe we need to consider for ourselves moving forward. And I think we showed ourselves in that meeting to be very assertive and have a good handle on what's happening locally. And I think lucky for us in this community, we've had to really evaluate some of our situations and really look to our strengths, and tourism in challenging times has been really strong for us, as well as having some really strong local businesses. And we want to build that group out. And this morning, I was lucky enough to present on behalf of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to the United Cities for Local Government towards Generation Equality, with a panel that spanned speakers from Senegal, Portugal, Barcelona, Mexico, and Vegreville. So it was really an interesting session and really an honor to be able to present this morning and tonight's council meeting. And that is my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Your Worship, thank you. March 10th, I attended the Library Board Policy Committee meeting where we went over the edits we required for our policies as we present them to the board tomorrow night for their approval. March 16th, I had a Go East of Edmonton Tourism Board meeting. Discussion more about the season going forward. Their travel guide will be going to print in the middle of April, hopefully out by the end of April, beginning of May distribution. They won't be attending any trade shows, as there won't be any. Discussion around the road trip game, which we are part of, where people will come in the community and get their passport stamped, and they'll continue on for prizes and that kind of stuff. The hopefully hosting the AGM when restrictions are lifted around in September. Usually we hold it in April, May, but we're hoping to hold it in September live with the region. On the 16th, I also attended the FCSS Advisory Board meeting. Majority of the meeting was spent with a presentation from Jasmine Ramsby on the COVID-19 survey with the findings of the survey. It's interesting, it's 250 respondents completed the survey, which is a really good response for our community. And the findings were quite interesting. Jasmine will be bringing that presentation to council at hopefully the next ledger meeting, where we can digest the numbers as a council and come up with some initiatives of what that could mean to us in the community. Mental health is huge, and that's a big finding that was there. Depression and those kind of things are being flushed out of that survey, which is good to know. Then we can act on it. She also talked about the welcoming and inclusive connected community, which we talked about on Talk of the Town this morning with Jasmine. So those we're looking for people to fill out the survey as much as possible, so we can get the right numbers. Right now, the survey will run till the beginning of April, around the 3rd, and we need people to fill that out so that we as a council come up with some initiatives around that. And also there was some talk about the National Volunteer Week, which we just getting some information now about what that looks like. The week is April 18th to 24th, and it's going out to the community now. You'll start seeing stuff on the website and such, and I believe some emails went out today, which I haven't had a chance to digest or read over. So that's coming the same day, the 16th alleged meeting. On the 18th, I did tape Talk of the Town with Jasmine and Jameson over at the radio station. The 18th also was our Zoom session with MLA Homeniuk and MLA Long discussion about tourism and that. It was a brief session, which I would like to get more into because tourism is a valuable tool in our community and in many communities in Alberta. And then the 19th, last Friday, I was fortunate enough to go for a photo shoot with the local fire department. Donation of surplus fire gear that has been outdated for use by our department to our donation to our sister city in Kolomia. There's a photo shoot, and the gear will be going directly to Kolomia. So I think it's important that we follow up with a letter to our partners over there. Your worship's probably on that. And that's the end of my report, sir.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko, where can people go to access this survey?
The new survey, you can find it on our website, in our social media, Facebook and all that. But if you need a hard copy, do call FCSS and we'll be able to get a hard copy to you somehow as quickly as possible. So I encourage everybody to fill it out because there's some valuable information on there about welcoming and inclusive. It's more than what you think it is. It's more about us as a community being able to meet the needs of the many people who are living in our community, be social, economical, and all that. So please fill it out, help us out so we can make the decisions based on us moving forward. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Warwa.
Thank you. I also had our March 16th legislature meeting. March 17th, I met for Community Futures, and it was good. Our board has been a little while since they've met, so we had a fair amount to review. And with that one, obviously we can't speak specifically to applications that come in, but what I can say is it is still encouraging that groups are still moving forward with some of the plans that we've heard about, that we're still seeing groups willing to do some expansions and renovations and updates, enough that it did warrant us to approve some additional borrowing to, continue to be able to access for businesses. So I think that was a really good sign to see. March 18th, I was also at the meeting with MLA Armstrong and MLA Long. I think we've already voluntold them that they will be coming out to Vegreville to meet when allowed. I would say that I want to take this opportunity. It was very clear to me after that meeting that Vegreville is doing a good tourism job, and I would venture to say that I think it's fair to say that we are leading in a lot of areas when it comes to tourism. So I think I just want to take an opportunity to thank all the board members who are part of it, and Anya and Phil for the work you guys do. I can tell you, Phil, that with this department, we were able to have a very effective conversation with the minister, and it was very clear that we might even be able to help maybe write their policy book on what tourism should look like. So I think that's a credit to what the work that's been done in that department. So thank you for that. And then as well, our council meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brajek.
Except unmute. I had a very light agenda for the last couple of weeks. My board meetings are will be held next week. So I attended the legislative committee meeting on March 16th, the Zoom meeting with MLA Armstrong Homeniuk and MLA Long on March 18th, and tonight's town council meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. My schedule wasn't all that hectic neither. On March the 11th, did Talk of the Town, where we discussed MD Minburn Foundation. And I think that it went very well to try and explain to the community just what our foundation is, that we own and operate the Homestead Lodge, and that we manage publicly owned facilities or provincially owned facilities in both Innisfree and Manville, and that we have a council from all of those municipalities. And found out that the seniors have all had their first round of vaccines, so that's looking good. Should get the next round, I think, in the first week of April. I think that their spirits are rising. I think they're keeping themselves active. So I think that I'm looking forward to seeing maybe some restrictions get relaxed so that they can start living a little bit more normal. On the 16th, Ledge meeting. On the 18th, MD member and foundation board meeting. We had our audit. That is always interesting. It's passed with flying colors. And then I also was with MLA Long and MLA Armstrong, and I'll agree that I think that we were able to, or I will say the tourism group, because I was quite silent, were quite able to have a very detailed discussion and show that they are doing a great job here. And in tonight's regular council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. So I'll just go through mine quickly. On the 15th, I was in on with John S. Patouk Water Commission, the Highway 15 planning study. They plan on twinning it towards Mundare from Fort Saskatchewan. And of course, our water supply line is right in the middle of the highway. Well, will be in the middle of the highway. So we had to go through a lot, and we know that the proposed plan will not be the finished plan because there'll be some pushback from other municipalities, but we are definitely on top of that. On Tuesday the 16th, I met with Phil and Cliff Craig, and we took a tour of the Event Center Museum and took a look at some of the renovations that are ongoing down there, and took a look at the some of the needs that we that we found when we opened the walls up. So that's I've been in renovation forever. It's nothing alarming to it. So, and then we had our Ledge meeting that day. I too was on the 18th, discussions with our MLA Hominick and MLA Long, and I think in his role, I think he laid it out pretty clear that if you want tourism, you better be able to promote it and look after yourself. And what I've seen within our own organization, we're doing a very good job of that right now. So hopefully there's a couple of grants that are going to be coming forward. He told me that his advisor, chief of staff guy was going to get back to us on some of that. So hopefully he will. That'd be good. And I also had another John S. Patouk water meeting, our regular meeting that same night. And then on the Friday, the 18th, Councillor Lemko joined me over at the fire hall, and it was the donation of some used equipment and stuff. And the gentleman that was in charge of that, he was out pretty gung-ho. He does this all over Alberta, trying to come up with equipment, the used equipment to send to the Ukraine. And he bought pizza for all the boys, and they packed it all up, and he was pretty precise on the way he was going to handle everything. So, and again, it was nice that he found out about our sister city in Ukraine, and they were trying to target. It may not exactly end up right at with Kalamanka, but it will be in that area if he promised us that, the equipment. So yeah, so that was all good. And then tonight's council meeting. So I think I probably had a few more meetings and phone calls in there someplace, but that's what it is that I have for right now. So that's what we have for tonight's meeting. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring forward before we take a motion to go into closed session? Okay, well, if not, I'll take a motion at this time to enter in closed session regarding business interest of a third party. Councillor Barry, thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you all.